Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about the how-to of self-validation. Many people would say that self-confidence is valuable. However, fewer people take the time to consider what it is comprised of and how it is attained. Often, the assumption is that you have it or you don't. In reality, this simply is not true. As with most things, confidence can be cultivated. A fundamental way to do this is through developing and understanding your worth. Today, I'm going to discuss the how-to of self-validation, and by doing so, set you up for greater success and satisfaction in your life. So, what is self-validation? We know that validating others, actively accepting them for who they are, and making them feel worthy of love is vital for fostering healthy relationships. It turns out that this process is just as essential for your relationship with yourself. The definition of self-validation is accepting your own internal experience, your thoughts, and feelings. Now, this does not mean justifying yourself, but rather allowing your whole range of qualities to exist without judgment. This allowance fosters a more honest and authentic relationship with yourself, wherein you can learn from mistakes, acknowledge your triumphs, and direct your behavior in the direction you would like to go. So how do you cultivate it? Well, just like when growing a garden, it's essential to know when to sprout seeds, what conditions they require, and how to care for the plants once they're in the ground. Self-validation is similar. You need to know when, where, and how to support it if you want to thrive. The when and where are easy, always and everywhere. There is no time or location when total acceptance of yourself is out of place. Again, this does not mean ignoring or being permissive to bad behavior. It simply means that you acknowledge the bad behavior, look for the source, and begin the work of modifying your actions to better suit your needs. There is no guilt, shame, or self-battery. It's just lucid analysis and positive action. Now, the how is a little bit more nuanced. It entails honest reflection and familiarizing yourself with the nature of your thoughts and feelings. It requires a recognition of patterns, triggers, and latent needs and desires. Most of all, it necessitates patience and commitment. Now, according to dialectical behavioral therapy, there is a 3-step process for self-validation that begins with acknowledging, it progresses to allowing, and culminates in understanding. In practice, this might look like the following. So, say for instance, you're angry with your partner. The first step you're going to take is acknowledging the feeling, recognizing it for what it is, and not trying to deny it. The next step is to allow the feeling, not trying to change it, but rather accepting how you feel. You'll see that it's okay to feel this way, and even though it's unpleasant, it's not going to hurt you and it won't last forever. Finally, you apply understanding to the situation. You take into consideration the context of your emotions and don't undermine them. You recognize that you're angry with your partner not for the stupid reason of failing to help clean the house, but because of the underlying feelings of being abandoned and overburdened. This understanding fosters the ability to speak with your partner constructively. So one thing we have to do is to stop seeking external validation. Now, at first glance, it might not be obvious just how damaging it is to continuously look outside of ourselves to measure our value. However, this behavior has a host of unwanted impacts ranging from a negative self-image to a distorted view of reality. Now, if you're ready to take charge of your life and stop seeking external validation, you've come to the right place. So the definition of external validation is a mental model, which is the framework for how you interpret and engage with the world, in which your self-worth is directly tied to what others think of you. In other words, if people don't see you as attractive, smart, successful, etc., you feel bad about yourself. There are very many issues with this mental model, but one of the most obvious ones is that you don't have control of your experience. Other people do. That's some really shaky ground to stand on. Now, it's all well and good to say you don't want to live on the approval of others, but it can be helpful to dive deeper into why. The need for external validation causes harm to people in predictable ways, including the following. It promotes insecurity, it distorts reality, overemphasizes projections, and promotes insecurity. Now, if someone doesn't like you, disagrees with you, looks at you in an unfriendly way, or otherwise fails to support you, and this devastates you, your self-esteem is always in jeopardy. If you feel acknowledged, all is right with the world. But if not, you crumble, and this is the height of insecurity. The need for approval is associated with anxiety, and the more an individual needs approval from others, the more anxious they tend to be. This is a vicious circle best avoided in the interest of mental health and overall well-being. It distorts reality. The truth is, without extensive conversation, you really don't know what other people are thinking. Even then, there is room for error. A fundamental problem for external validation seekers is that they tend to believe their own assumptions about what others think, whether they're right or not. This faulty belief system creates ample opportunity to end up inhabiting a distorted reality. And also overemphasizes projections. Now, to some degree, every person constructs an image of themselves that they then project to others. The prevalence of social media has only increased this tendency. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but for those who excessively seek approval, it typically is. If you overemphasize the importance of the projections you make about yourself because you desperately need to garner positive attention, you're more likely to do so dishonestly and feel low as a result. It turns out that most of us don't benefit psychologically from lying to ourselves or to others. So what do we do about this? Now it's abundantly clear that you don't want to garner self-worth from without. What is to be done? First, you're here with me, so you've already acknowledged the need for change, and that's well done. Second, if you got very happy about being validated with the well done, you know you've got your work cut out for you. Don't worry, though. There are simple steps you can take to begin to rewire your circuits and take control of yourself. For instance, limit time on social media. Pause, close your eyes, and reset when you start seeking approval. Refrain from gathering people's opinions and reflect on what you actually think. Check in with reality. Could you possibly be projecting? Begin a mindfulness practice to increase self-awareness. And last and most importantly, be kind to yourself. The good thing about these behaviors is that they build on each other because they make you feel better. This naturally helps keep you on track. With time, you'll stop seeking external validation because you'll understand whose opinion matters most for your quality of life. That's you, my friend. Self-confidence and healthy relationships are both bolstered by the process of self-validation. Knowing how to validate yourself is an ongoing process that requires radical acceptance of your internal states, which is fostered by acknowledging, allowing, and understanding your feelings. Once you've mastered the process, it becomes second nature. It's an accomplishment that will enhance your sense of self-worth and enable you to be more effectively able to support others. With these pieces in place, your likelihood of living a satisfying life is greatly increased. So, your next question, I bet, is how do I validate myself? Well, if you've never asked yourself this question before, it's a troubling sign. See, it's easy to ignore how we treat ourselves, but the outcome is often detrimental. If we fail to reflect on our day-to-day behaviors, unconscious habits can come to rule our lives. This unconsciousness is very rarely a good thing. A simple way to begin taking stock of your situation is to assess whether or not you validate yourself in meaningful ways. You can do this by asking yourself the following questions and then sincerely contemplating your answers. What is the nature of my self-talk? Whose opinions matter most to me? And how do I measure successes and failures? What is the nature of my self-talk? Engaging in positive self-talk is an essential building block for healthy self-esteem. If this is absent, or worse, you habitually tear yourself down, then your foundation is shaky. It is very difficult to have a sense of confidence and validation if the voice in your head continually undermines you. Positive self-talk and the associated optimism it inspires are linked to an array of physical and mental health benefits, including an increased lifespan, lower rates of depression, lower rates of stress, lower levels of distress, greater resistance to the common cold, better cardiovascular health, and reduced risk of death from cardiovascular disease, better psychological and physical well-being, and better coping skills during times of hardship and stress. With this list of benefits, it's clear that anyone who aims to validate themselves in meaningful ways should begin with cleaning up their internal dialogue. So next, whose opinion matters most to me? It makes sense for healthy relationships to care about what your friends and loved ones think about you. This is normal. However, if your entire value is based upon your perception of other people's opinions of you, you've definitely gone off the rails. If this is the case, you need to take back the reins and remind yourself that the opinion that matters most is yours. A sense of ownership of your experience that this promotes will bolster your confidence and improve your well-being. And last but not least, how do I measure success and failure? If you outsource your measures of success and failure to external sources, you are inherently failing to validate yourself. You'll be forever at the mercy of other people and will feel good or bad according to their whims. Understanding this should provide the incentive to create highly personalized measures of success derived from within. This way, the only failure you experience is letting yourself down. With time, this occurs less frequently because you spend more effort on refining your behavior and less on beating yourself up for missteps. In conclusion, the best way to determine whether you validate yourself in meaningful ways is to tune in to your routine patterns of behavior. Notice how you speak to yourself and keep it positive. Check in on whose opinions you're leaning on and try to reduce your need for external validation. Become a master of your destiny by defining success on your own terms. This is your life. Live it your way. And oh yeah, don't forget to enjoy it. And on that note, people, I am complete.